It started as a whisper, a promise meant to change the lives of millions of workers across Britain. A promise so simple, so powerful, from the very first day on the job, no one should be vulnerable to being sacked without cause. Day one protection. A safety net for every new hire, from day one. But under the dim lights of power and behind closed doors, that promise cracked. What seemed like a guarantee now lies buried beneath compromise, concessions, and political pressure. Tonight, that once shining pledge has been quietly watered down,
the numbers
and
for
for many,
this quarter
the hope it
clearly
carried is slipping
reflect
away.
what happened at Jaguar Land
If you care
Rover,
about the
a
future of workers, hit like, subscribe to Echo Britain, and leave a comment. Your voice matters now. When the Labour Party unveiled its agenda, it promised a bold overhaul of employment laws, a historic upgrade. Central to that vision was the right for any worker to be protected against unfair dismissal from their very first day on the job. No probation danger. No waiting period. This pledge was more than policy, it was a beacon of hope. For many workers, young people starting first jobs, part-time staff, temporary employees, this promise meant security and dignity. It meant they wouldn't start a job with a weight on their shoulders, uncertain if they might be sent home on a whim. It was a message that Britain recognised their right to fairness from day one. The proposed law, the Employment Rights Bill, was supposed to scrap the existing 2-year qualifying period for dismissal protection. Instead, it would offer immediate protection, a game-changer in a job market often criticised for precarity. But as the bill moved through the corridors of power, from Commons to Lords and back, the shape of that promise began to shift. Late one evening, the government delivered the blow. Under pressure from business lobbyists and after behind-the-scenes negotiations, they announced a U-turn. The much-touted Day One unfair dismissal protection would be abandoned. Instead, protection would only begin after 6 months of employment. A compromise, but one that shattered the original promise. Ministers defended the change as a practical necessity. They argued that immediate dismissal protections risked deterring employers from hiring, especially in uncertain economic times. They presented the revised qualifying period as a middle ground, a step forward from 2 years' wait, yet still feasible for businesses. They also stressed that other Day One rights, like sick pay and paternity leave, will proceed as planned for April 2026. And they introduced the Fair Work Agency as part of the broader reform package. But for many, workers, union leaders, and some MPs, that pragmatism felt deeply like a betrayal. The backlash was immediate and fierce. On the floors of Parliament and in union halls, voices rose in anger. Some members of Labour described the U-turn as a complete betrayal of what they had once stood for. One MP went on record declaring he would not support the revised bill, calling any halfway measure unacceptable. Others accused the leadership of capitulation to business interests over working-class values. Union activists were especially scornful. The largest unions described the new bill as a shell of its former self, a diluted version of what had been promised. Many stressed that without real protection from day one, the reform loses its meaning for those most at risk: new hires, low-paid workers, part-time staff. Even within the party establishment, unease spread. Some pointed out a worrying message: if one core promise can be quietly overturned, how many more could follow? Faced with mounting criticism, government spokespeople insisted the move was necessary to get the bill over the finish line. According to them, a compromise was unavoidable, especially after resistance from business groups and peers in the upper chamber who argued that immediate protection would stifle hiring and risk economic harm. They argued that reducing the wait time from 2 years to 6 months is still meaningful progress, especially when combined with other reforms like guaranteed sick pay, paternity leave, and stronger protections for many workers. And they warned, if the bill failed entirely, because it was deemed unworkable by businesses, then none of these protections would happen. At least in their view, a watered-down law is better than none at all. But critics say this logic misses the point. A core promise was broken, one that resonated because it touched the lives of those most vulnerable. The political and social fallout hit fast. Within the party, some MPs are now openly questioning whether they can ever trust manifesto pledges again. Labour's identity, once rooted in workers' rights and social justice, is being challenged. For many workers, especially those in precarious roles, the message is blunt: even when promises are made, realities shift. Security from day one is gone. In its place, uncertainty remains. For new hires waiting for that first contract, the 6-month safety net feels like too little, too late. Unions warn that patience will wear thin. If this bill passes in its diluted form, they fear future reforms will also be stripped down. The original vision of a fairer, safer workplace for all may fade into a compromise for corporate convenience. Broader political consequences may emerge too. Trust among rank-and-file Labour supporters could erode. Voters who backed the party on hopes of real change may feel betrayed. And in an election cycle world, such disillusionment can be dangerous. This is not just about one law or one government. It's about a contract between the state and its workers. It's about whether promises, especially those that give people dignity and security, are more than words on paper. If fundamental protections can be stripped away quietly under pressure, what hope is there for vulnerable workers? For part-time staff, for temporary workers, for people on 0-hour contracts? For those who always feared they could be dismissed on a whim? The diluted bill may still offer some rights, but it falls short of the bold promise that once inspired hope. And for many, hope is not just symbolic, it's a lifeline. As the legislation moves through its final stages, the fight continues, but this time it's not just about what's in the bill. It's about trust, integrity, the promise of fairness. So tell me, is this U-turn a necessary compromise to get some progress made? Or is it the first betrayal in a series of broken promises? Do you believe workers deserve protection from day one, or is 6 months good enough? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe to Echo Britain and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Because this might not be the end, it could be just the beginning of a long fight for workers' rights.